don't you start from the beginning if you can, if you comfortable to
Oh,
do that?
you know me, I'm an open book.
Right.
Um, and you know, being a bodybuilder, I got to get my calories in. So forgive me for eating,
No, no.
but yeah, you know, I grew up um, in a remote part of Northern California as a tomboy, and grew up with an alcoholic mother. And that's the thing, like, people don't really realize how much of an impact our childhood has on us from ages 0 to 7 years old. You know,
Right.
that's where we're creating all of our beliefs about ourselves. So it wasn't like my mom was so fucked up that she was like dragging me around from house to house and squatting in houses without fucking electricity and I didn't have food to eat. It wasn't like that. Like I was still looked after, but she was emotionally A, unavailable, and B, violent, and C, manipulative. And what that does to a young person, you know, is that like you become a people pleaser. You want to make sure everybody doesn't rock the boat, you know. You develop all these characteristics so when you get older, you don't learn to assert your power and
Right.
be assertive and speak how you feel. So as a result of that, when I got to my senior year of high school, I mean, I always had the plan to be the first female president of the United States. And I was like the ASB president, captain of the cheerleading team, started the first girls golf team. Fucking, I was in the, you know, Eureka City Youth Council. I was in a Christian rock band, and my ass went straight to methamphetamines because I wanted to look like Kate Moss. And you know, that derailed me super hard. And I spent a year doing that. And finally, a teacher was like, "All right, what are you doing? You're fucked up. You want us to tell your parents or see a drug counselor?" And I was like, "See a drug counselor?"
Right.
Duh. Drug counselor was like, "Okay, why'd you do it?" And I'm like, "Because I wanted to lose weight." And he said, "I got the perfect solution for you. I know this guy. He was a former Golden Gloves boxing champion, a heroin addict, and he's married to a nun. What could go wrong, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he's got a class. He's got a boxing class. I was 3 days clean off meth at 17 and went out to his class, and this motherfucker took a massive liking to me. And right, like still being that girl looking for validation, not having any self-esteem and all this kind of stuff. He was like, "I want to make you my last prize fighter before I retire." And I'm like, "All right, cool." Go out to his house to order some equipment, but when I get there, he basically drugs me, and I wake up and this dude's inside of me. He was 72 years old. And I know it sounds cringe, right? But you get to a point where you're like, fuck, shit just happens. You know what I'm saying? You can stay as a victim and be like, "Oh, this happened to me," and "Oh, fucking my poor life." And it's like, nah, it happened. You know,
Mm.
have some compassion for the person that did it because I'm sure they were sexually assaulted as well, right? The pattern just continues to repeat itself. So you have a decision to either be a fucking victim and continue to stay in that cycle or be like, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get better." But it took me some time. It took me really like another 8 years because after that, you know, I became a full-blown alcoholic. I did find the gym, but I didn't take it seriously. And then, of course, body image was like a big driving force for me because I wanted to be skinny. And I had no idea how you guys operate. I had no fucking clue how men, you know what I mean? Like, you don't give a fuck about cellulite and dimples and all this kind of shit when you're hitting it from behind. Like, you just want a confident, strong, powerful woman, right? But the beauty industry has got us all so fucked up because it is $1 billion industry, the weight loss industry, and they want to keep us in this perpetual state of never enough. And we got to keep putting something in to feel better about ourselves. That is just this cyclical fucking nonstop hamster wheel. So it took me like
Right.
another 8 years. You know, I was like, I wrecked 5 Hondas, got back into meth. I had 5 felonies hanging over my head. I was innocent, by the way. Um,
No.
putting that out there. And, you know, that was kind of like the waking up point for me. And at that point I was like, all right, maybe I do really have a problem, because I'd gone to rehab, but I just couldn't admit or accept, rather, because it's easy to admit something and be like, oh yeah, I admit this and that, but then you find a
Yeah.
fucking hole, right? But you got to accept it and be like, okay, I accept this shit. And I accepted it, and then kind of got back into recovery on a serious note. But then I started using pain pills because I threw my back out wrestling, because at that time I found sessions. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then finally hit a rock bottom on a spiritual point. And, at the end of all of that, I was like, fuck, I have to get this message out to women and let women know that the world is not what we think it is. We've been lied to our whole fucking lives. In my experience, 1 out of 8 men out there, probably more, are into something that's not conventional or normal or standard. You know what I'm saying? The size 2, fucking big, double D boobs, fucking tiny waist, quiet, pretty, in the kitchen bitch. Like, men want to be around the presence of a strong, powerful woman. I'm not saying like go burn your bra and don't open the door for me. Like, I'm all about masculinity.
Right.
But at the same time, there's so much to be had from building confidence and building muscle and all this kind of stuff. So it was really an eye-opening thing for me, because I mean, my highest paying session was $4,000 fucking dollars for 3 hours, and this guy just worshiping my calf muscles. And I grew up my whole life thinking my calf muscles were fat and disgusting, and because I couldn't get a pair of cowboy boots on them, so I was gross, didn't fit in, not good enough. And then now today I'm like, bitch, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's been really quite a journey to get to here. And now I'm to this place. And that's kind of like where I started Camp Confidence, which was a program for teenage girls. I wanted to teach them all the shit that I wish I was taught in school. Did that for a
Right.
few years. It was amazing. And then after 62 graduates, because it was so laborious, you got girls cutting themselves, eating disorders, severe bullying, and you're like, well, fuck. This is a lot of work. And we're like, right, how do we take the same vision and mission and roll that shit into a clothing line and spread the message globally? And that's been an absolute fucking shit show as far as like stress and scaling and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of like, every single 5 years or so, it's like this new opportunity to recreate something. And I'm to the point right now where I'm like, all right, I need to start getting more women involved in the gym to become muscle mommies, to teach them about the session world, to teach them about how the world really works. And that, bitch, whatever you fucking hate about your body, you could go out there. There's some dude out there paying for it on the internet. Hairy armpits, fucking big wide feet, saggy titties. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Why you keep the hair under your arms?
a lot of guys like it. A lot of guys fucking
Yeah.
love it.
Ugh.
They love it. It's
There's some
crazy.
guys that's different, man. Like there's some different guys. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they
And that's
different.
the
You
thing,
know.
right? Media wants us to be programmed to buy their Schick razor and their shaving gel. So they are like,
Yeah.
that's how media and advertising works. The commercials, the billboards, the fucking ads. It's like, oh, this is what a woman's supposed to be. And so then men are kind of like embarrassed about it. Or, I mean, we're in a different day and age today, right, than we were 15 years ago when I started this shit.
Yeah.
But we still got a long way to go. And my goal is to, help men accept that they like what they like. And what I've experienced too is that really, men, you all are born into a box. And it's like, you step outside this box, you're a little bitch. If you cry, show emotion, fucking whatever, you're not a man. You got to be the rock, the breadwinner. Hold on.
Hmm.
Excuse me. You got to do all this kind of stuff. And
Bless you.
thank you. And do you know where the word bless you came from?
I think from Germany, something like that.
It was
No,
like
God, that's cousin type. I
it
don't
was
know.
like
I don't
during
even
the
know.
Black Plague. It was during the Black Plague when all these people were dying. They'd sneeze and they didn't die. They'd say "bless you." Isn't it funny how we just like carry on with
Oh
shit?
wow,
We really know where it comes from, and
that's a long time, huh?
yeah, dog. So same
Wow,
thing,
yeah,
right? Same thing with the beauty
yeah,
standard. We just keep going with this idea that, oh, women are supposed to look this way. And it's like, no, bitch, we're not. We're fucking not. And it's so hard to undo that programming because, I might see my baggy knees or some cellulite on the back of my leg. And I'm like, ah, it's like, yeah, nobody else sees that or gives a fuck. But how we undo those centuries of programming or decades of programming, it's like, it's a lot of work. Um, so yeah, as far as like with men, I feel like what I do with this stuff is giving men the opportunity to let go and be in a position of not in control. So for once, you don't have to be the rock, the breadwinner, the fucking one in charge, making decisions, because you carry that around with you all the time unknowingly. It's just there. It just sits on you because that's how society is set up. And I feel for men because you motherfuckers can't, if you came home and cried and be like, oh my God, I had such a bad day, I'd be like, dude, get your fucking shit together. Even though I'd
right,
console you and feel for you, but deep down, I'd be like, you're a little bitch. But that's programming. You know what I mean? And it's hard because we're at this place now with this gender critical movement where we're like, oh, boys can become girls and girls can become boys. And I'm like, well, maybe it is not a bad thing because gender is a societal construct. But at the end of the day, I'm like, we gone way too far the other side because we still need that masculine and feminine energy, right? Because there are certain attributes to each one that
right,
contribute. And with me as a woman, like I growing up with an alcoholic, I have male tendencies because I'm constantly in a position of control where I need to, call the shots, make sure everything is going my way because my mom was completely out of control. So I'm always like in hustle mode and go mode. I can't just chill and flow and be in flow. And that's what the feminine divine is being in flow and letting things come. And naturally, we're on the left side of the brain as opposed to the right side of the
right,
brain. So it's a real complex situation that we're in, especially in today's age. So
right,
we got a lot of shit to sift through, and figure out. But my goal is to really help men say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me for fucking liking strong muscular women. I'm not gay or on gay's doorstep or what the fuck ever. Or be judged by your friends because bitch, your best friend just
right.
called me last week. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, also help women be like, oh wow, what? There's a whole world of men out there who are like turned on by my confidence and strength and don't give a fuck about if I have some wrinkles here or some cellulite or dimples or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's an interesting road we have ahead of us.
yeah. I mean, I can't get over that. Like he spent like $4,000 for a 3 hour session. That's wild. I don't think I could do that. Like, I mean, maybe he rich or something. I don't know, but that's a lot.
He I know he doesn't have any kids, like this was back in the day too. He was a
Yeah,
single kid. Like, he was an older man, but he just loves calves and he loves me so much. Like he just wanted to support what I was doing. He invested in my company as a
right.
seed investor and so forth. So, but
I
yeah,
got a question.
yeah.
Yeah, like don't like you said like what was the question? Oh man, yeah, like masculine. You're married, right?
Yeah.
All right, like how do you and your husband like operate? Like are you the dominant one and he's like the submissive one?
That's a really good question. No, not at all. And nor is
Oh,
he. It's weird. We have like because we work together, like I still look to him as like my rock, and he always puts me back together. And he is such a incredible man because he's still very manly, but at the
Right.
same time he has a lot of feminine traits in terms of like understanding, compassionate, can sit and he won't just be like fucking harden up. He'll be like, okay, like, let's talk about this, and he'll hype me back up. When I met him, he was a shell of a man, and now he's way stronger than me, which sometimes kind of irritates me. So, as a bodybuilder and as a strength athlete, like I don't, and this is something else I want men to know, right? Because there's this whole incel movement. And these guys are like, oh, I'll never get a girl and shit like that. And it's like, no, bitch, you just have to fucking be patient and wait for the right thing to come along, because there's so many good women out there. They're not all Stacy's. They're not all just, materialistic. How big is your dick? How much money do you have? What can you provide for me? You know what I mean? And so I think a lot
Yeah.
of young guys have been led astray. Even my husband, he's 13 years older than me. He
Mm.
smoked for most of his life, so he looks a lot older than he is, and he's handsome. But a lot of people are like, "Oh wow, I would have, expected." He's jacked though. He's jacked, but I it's at the end of the day, it's like I want people to know that it's more than just the physical. It's like, what do you bring into the table? How are you supporting each other? How are you, showing up for each other and that kind of thing.